This week, we took a little trip down memory lane back to the Clinton White House with the release of thousands of internal documents that had remained secret for over a decade. On Friday, the William J. Clinton Presidential Library released the first batch of as many as 30,000 pages of memos, notes, and other records that offer a unique look at the inner workings of the presidency. And let me tell you, it has been a real flashback to my days in the Clinton White House when I was trying to spread the word about a little thing called internet. The documents offer up some interesting tidbits about my former boss, then First Lady Hillary Clinton, and about how her role in public life has evolved. That evolution is also the subject of the new New York Times best-selling book, HRC, which examines Clinton's term as Secretary of State. And I am joined now by the authors of that book, Amie Parnes, White House correspondent for The Hill, and Jonathan Allen, White House reporter for Bloomberg News. Thanks so much, you guys.
Hey, Karen. Thanks for having us.
Good to be with you.
So, Amie, I want to start with something that we saw a lot of both in the documents that were released and something that you guys talk about a bit in a slightly different way, and that is this idea of Hillary's image. And certainly, you know, in the documents, there is a memo from Mandy Grunwald that sort of talks about efforts to soften her image, which were in a very different context in the 90s, saying, look for opportunities for humor. It's important that people see more sides of you, and they often see you only in very stern situations. Be careful to be real. But then you guys have in the book, you know, the texts and the drinking beer and the dancing and the kind of, so it's really an evolution of, I think for her even, her perception of what her own public persona.
Yeah, I think she almost came into her own at State. You know, it was her time to kind of have a little fun, to let loose a little bit. And you saw that with the drinking and the dancing in South Africa and the meme text from Hillary. You know, they never really opposed that thing. They thought that it was actually quite fun, and
yeah.
it gave people a new side of her. And so, you know, I think that people really want to see that side of her, actually.
Well, you know, I have to tell you, having seen her do the electric slide in the east room of the White House with Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston, I knew she could dance. I knew she had some rhythm, so long before she got to State. Hey, Jonathan, one of the other things I want to talk about is you guys have a lot in the book about the relationship between President Obama and Hillary Clinton. And certainly, we all remember how contentious the primary was and sort of the challenges that, you know, we saw over that couple of very tense weeks when, you know, is she dropping out? Is she not dropping out? What's she going to do? Is he going to ask her to be Secretary of State? Is she not going to be Secretary of State? And you guys, though, really kind of chronicle that relationship. But I want to start with, because this often happens, it's the staff that has a harder time making amends sometimes than it seems the principals themselves.
Yeah, I think there's no question that the staff had a bigger problem with this. When Barack Obama first broached with his aides, including David Axelrod and Robert Gibbs, the idea that he would ask her to be Secretary of State, they said, what are you thinking? How could this possibly work, as we say in the book? I think there was a professional marriage, a shotgun wedding, if you will, between Obama and Clinton. He wanted her to be Secretary of State. He wanted to show a team of rivals. For her, she answered that call. Part of that is political. It preserved her ability to continue to be a political force. Had she said no to him, would have hurt him and thus her. And I think when they first started working together, their relationship was described to us as perfectly correct, not warm, not even necessarily particularly cordial, but certainly, a working professional relationship. I think over time they got to have an appreciation for each other's political skills and the challenges each of them faced. We have a scene in the book about a climate summit in Copenhagen where the Chinese were trying to cut a side deal, and the two of them burst into the room and basically made themselves part of the discussion and ended up getting a watered-down deal. It didn't end up doing a whole lot, but I think, their aides said from that point on they had a much warmer relationship with each other.
Right.
Still to this day, we would call it, Amie and I would call it work friends. It's not like you're going to expect to see them summering in the Hamptons together.
But part of the thing that strikes me, and I see this among like the former presidents and first ladies, to some degree, there are not that many people who understand what the experience of being president or first lady is really like. And one of the things, Amie, you guys do talk about in the book on that Copenhagen trip, you say that, quote, what Obama and Hillary had gained was a common appreciation for the difficulties of the nitty-gritty of diplomacy and the sense that they might actually enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. Yeah, that we talk a lot about this in the book. You know, that meeting was a meeting where both aides on both sides say they really kind of came together. And you know, there's a funny scene in the book where a Chinese diplomat is like yelling at the president and the Secretary of State, and the president turns to Hillary and he says, "I don't know what this guy is saying, but it's not 'I'm glad to see you.'" And you know, and the secretary explains later that they had fun kind of storming this secret meeting together, and I think it was a real bonding moment for the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, quickly, last thing I want to touch on, because you touch on it a bit in the book, and it's been talked about this morning, it's been talked about a lot lately, and that is Bill Clinton and what role, you know, he will play, the role he played in 2008 and the role that he will play in 2014. And one of the things that, you know, strikes me is it feels like Rand Paul really trying to make Clinton a liability and not the asset that I think he really is to the Democratic Party.
Well, Barack Obama certainly did this in 2008. He made a lot of it about Bill Clinton. He understood that he was fighting two Clintons, not just one. You know, we have scenes in the book where Michelle Obama talks about that. And I think Rand Paul wants to, as you say, make Bill Clinton a liability. We saw Al Gore distance himself from Bill Clinton in 2000. That didn't work. We saw Hillary Clinton let him freelance in 2008. That didn't work.
Right.
Barack Obama used him very effectively as a surrogate, not letting him do a lot of freelance interviews with the press. That worked in 2012. And now he's out on the campaign trail for Democrats, scoring points for the political operation of the Clintons, while Hillary Clinton still remains out of that partisan fray as much as possible.
All right. Well, the book, HRC, it's a great book. Thanks to Amie Parnes and Jonathan Allen, and good luck with the book.
It's great to see you this week, Karen.